Please, honey, Grandma really needs you right now. She's not feeling well at all." My mom's voice crackled through the phone, heavy with what I now recognized as insincere concern. I sat in my Indianapolis apartment, surrounded by the luggage I had packed for our big family cruise, my excitement quickly deflating into worry. "Of course I'll stay," I replied without hesitation. "The cruise isn't important if Grandma needs help." Those words would soon haunt me. My name is Tara Smith, and I'm 28 years old. Throughout my life, I've tried to be the responsible daughter, the one who could be counted on when things got tough. But now, that dedication to family was about to be tested in ways I never imagined. I had been looking forward to this cruise. For months. It was supposed to be our first real family vacation in years. Me, my parents, my younger sister Emma, and a few other relatives. I had even taken time off work and splurged on new summer clothes. But when Mom called about Grandma being in the hospital, I didn't think twice about canceling. That evening, as I drove to the hospital, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was Emma posting on social media. My heart stopped as I looked. At the image, my entire family on the cruise ship, champagne glasses raised in celebration. "Best vacation ever! So blessed to have such an amazing family. Cruise life. Family time," the caption read. I pulled over, hands shaking as I stared at the photo. There they were, Mom, Dad, Emma, my aunts, and uncles, all smiling broadly on the deck of the ship. They had lied to me. They had deliberately excluded me from the family vacation, using my beloved grandmother as an excuse. When I finally arrived at the hospital, there was no record of my grandmother being admitted. My calls to my parents went straight to voicemail, and Emma had blocked me on social media within minutes of my seeing her post. The betrayal felt like a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. I drove to Grandma's house, tears blurring my vision. To my surprise, her lights were on. When I knocked, she opened the door, looking perfectly healthy, and more than a little confused to see me in such a state. "Tara, what's wrong, sweetheart?" Grandma asked, pulling me into a warm embrace. The familiar scent of her lavender perfume brought fresh tears to my eyes. As we sat in her cozy living room, the truth came pouring out. The cruise, the lies, the social media posts that had shattered my world. "I don't understand," I said, wiping my eyes. "Why would they do this to me? Why lie about you being sick?" Grandma's face darkened with disappointment. She had always treated Emma and me equally, but my parents were a different story. Growing up in Indianapolis, I had watched them consistently favor my sister. When Emma wanted dance lessons, they found the money. When I needed help with college, tuition, I had to take out loans. I thought about all the times I'd visited Grandma over the years, helping her with groceries, taking her to doctor's appointments, or just sitting together looking through old photo albums. Emma rarely visited unless she needed something, usually money. Yet somehow, she was still the golden child in our parents' eyes. "Your mother called me last week," Grandma revealed, her voice tight with anger. "She asked me to play along if you came by, to pretend I had been in the hospital. I refused. Of course, I had no idea they would actually go through with this scheme. The cruise tickets hadn't been cheap, nearly $2,000 per person for a week-long Caribbean adventure. I had saved for months to afford mine, picking up extra shifts at the accounting firm where I worked. Now I wondered if they had planned to exclude me all along, if my ticket money had somehow funded someone else's cabin. "You know what hurts the most?" I said, staring at my hands. "They didn't even need an elaborate excuse. They could have just told me they didn't want me there. Instead, they used you, knowing how much I care about you, to manipulate me." Grandma reached for my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "Sometimes people show you exactly who they are, even when they think they're hiding it," she said wisely. "The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?" I looked up at her, seeing something fierce and determined in her eyes. Little did I know, Grandma had been watching our family dynamics more closely than any of us realized, and she had plans of her own. As I sat with Grandma in her living room, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text from my cousin, who didn't know I'd been excluded from the cruise. She had meant to send vacation photos to everyone in the family group chat, not realizing I wasn't supposed to see them. My heart sank as I scrolled through the images. There was Emma, wearing the sundress I had helped her pick out for the trip. My parents lounged by the pool, cocktails in hand. The whole family gathered for a formal dinner, all dressed up and laughing. But what caught my eye was my mom's diamond necklace, the one Grandma had given her years ago, meant to be passed down to both her daughters on their 30th birthdays. "She gave it to Emma already, didn't she?" I asked, showing Grandma the photo. Even though I'm the older one, even though we were supposed to share it. Grandma leaned forward to look at the picture, her expression hardening. "That necklace has been in our family for 3 generations," she said quietly. "Your great-grandmother split her jewelry equally between her daughters. That's why I gave it to your mother with specific instructions." Then Grandma revealed something that made my blood run cold. The cruise hadn't been paid for with my parents' money at all. 2 months ago, I gave them $15,000 to plan a family vacation, explicitly stating it was for all of us. Instead, they used my portion to upgrade their own cabins and book extra excursions. "I've been watching," Grandma continued, her voice heavy with disappointment. "For years, I've seen how they treat you differently. I kept hoping they would change, that they would realize what they were doing. But this is the last straw." She stood up and walked to her desk, pulling out a thick manila envelope. "I wasn't going to show you this yet, but you need to know. I've been keeping records. Every time they've favored Emma, every time they've taken advantage of your kindness, every penny they've spent differently between you two." Inside the envelope were bank statements, photos, emails, and handwritten notes spanning years. My hands trembled as I read through them. The truth was laid bare in black and white. The pattern of favoritism wasn't just in my head. It had been calculated, consistent, and deliberate. "But why?" I whispered, the weight of years of gaslighting and denial crashing down around me. Why did they always make me feel like I was imagining it? Grandma's eyes flashed with a determination I'd never seen before. "Because that's what people do when they know they're wrong. They try to make you doubt yourself. But not anymore, Tara. Not anymore." The family cruise was scheduled to last 7 days. As I sat in my Indianapolis apartment, the next morning going through Grandma's documentation, my phone lit up with a text from Emma. "Mom said you're spreading lies about us. Why can't you just be happy for once instead of trying to ruin everything?" I stared at the message, anger building inside me. They were still trying to make me the villain, even after what they'd done. Instead of responding to Emma, I did something I'd never dared before. I posted the truth on social media. Funny how being lied to about my grandmother being hospitalized, just so my family could exclude me from a vacation, somehow makes me the problem, I wrote, attaching Emma's best vacation ever photo. Even funnier how the cruise was paid for, with money that was meant to include me. Within minutes, my post exploded with reactions. Family friends who'd known us for years expressed their shock. My cousins, who hadn't known the full story, began messaging me privately, sharing their own observations of how I'd been treated differently over the years. Then my father called. I almost didn't answer, but Grandma's words echoed in my mind. "Stand your ground. You've done nothing wrong. Take down that post immediately," he demanded, his voice cold. "You're embarrassing this family." "No, Dad, you embarrassed this family when you lied about Grandma being sick. When you took her money meant for all of us, and used it to exclude me." "That's not how it happened," he argued. "We needed a break from your constant what, Dad? My constant reliability, my constant help with Grandma, my constant effort to be part of this family despite how you treat me." The line went quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, threatening. "If you don't take down that post and apologize publicly for your lies, you'll regret it. You have no idea what's at stake here." "Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Your mother and I have protected you all these years, kept certain things from you. If you want to play this game, fine. But remember, you're not the only one who can tell stories." The call ended, leaving me shaken. What things had they protected me from? What stories could they tell? I called Grandma immediately. "They're trying to scare me," I told her. "Dad says they've been protecting me from something but won't say what." Grandma was quiet for a long moment. "Go to your email," she finally said. "I'm sending you something. It's time you knew everything." As I opened my laptop, my hands trembling slightly, I realized this was bigger than just a family cruise. Whatever was in that email would change everything. And judging by Grandma's tone, my parents had good reason to be worried about what I might discover. My hands shook as I opened Grandma's email. Inside was a scan of a document dated 25 years ago, a trust agreement that made my breath catch in my throat. According to the paperwork, my maternal grandfather had left behind a significant fortune before he passed away, meant to be divided equally between all his grandchildren when they turned 30. The trust was worth over $2 million, but there was more. A series of bank statements showed regular withdrawals from the trust over the years, money that had been used to fund Emma's dance lessons, her private school education, her college tuition, and even her recent wedding. All of it had been taken. From what was supposed to be my share. They've been stealing from you since you were 3 years old, Grandma explained over the phone. Your mother convinced the trustee, her brother Michael, to give her early access to your portion, claiming it was for your benefit. But as you can see, they spent it all on Emma, I finished, my voice hollow. The numbers were staggering. Over. $500,000 had been siphoned from my trust fund over the years, while I had worked multiple jobs to put myself through college. Just then, another email came through, this time from my Uncle Michael. Tara, I can't keep quiet anymore. What they did with the cruise money was the last straw. I've attached documentation of every withdrawal they made from your trust. I'm so sorry I should have stopped them years ago. The attached files revealed an even darker truth. My parents hadn't just spent my trust fund on Emma. They'd been embezzling money for themselves too. The cruise was just the latest example of their ongoing scheme. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked Grandma, trying to process the magnitude of the betrayal. I only discovered the extent of it recently, she replied. When I confronted your mother about it last month, she swore they'd pay it all back. That's when I gave them the cruise money. It was a test, Tara. I wanted to see if they'd finally do the right thing. And they failed spectacularly, I said bitterly. Yes, but their failure has given us exactly what we needed. Proof. Your Uncle Michael has agreed to testify about their manipulation of the trust. Combined with my documentation in the cruise incident, we can take legal action, I finished, a surge of determination replacing my shock. Better than that, Grandma said, and I could hear the steel in her voice. We can make sure they never hurt you again. Check the second attachment in my email. I clicked it open and gasped. It was Grandma's will, recently updated. She had made me the sole heir to her estate, which I now learned included controlling interest in the family company where my father worked as CEO. They're about to discover, Grandma said firmly, that their actions have consequences. The next morning, I met with Uncle Michael at a cafe in downtown Indianapolis. Dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept much, and his hands trembled slightly as he handed me a thick folder. These are copies of every document, every transaction, he said quietly. I've already sent everything to the family. Attorney, your parents, they're going to try to fight this, Tara. They've already called me 6 times since I sent that email. What are they saying? I asked, flipping through the damning evidence of years of financial manipulation. They're claiming it was all done with your best interests in mind, that they were protecting you from having too much money too young. He shook his head in disgust. But I found something else, something they don't know I know about. He pulled out another document, this one showing a series of recent transfers to an offshore account. They're planning to leave the country, Tara. They've been moving money around, preparing for something. The cruise wasn't just a vacation, it was a test. Run. They were checking if their passports would raise any red flags. My blood ran cold. They're planning to run with what's left of your trust fund? Yes, and Emma's involved. She's been helping them set up accounts in her name to hide the money. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Emma. I know what you're doing. You've always been jealous of me, and now you're trying to ruin everything. Well, guess what? You're too late. By the time you figure it out, we'll be gone, and you'll have nothing. I showed the text to Uncle Michael, whose face paled. They're moving faster than I thought. We need to act now. I called Grandma immediately. She answered on the first ring, as if she'd been waiting. They're at the family company right now, she said, without preamble. Your father's cleaning out his office. Security just called me. Can they stop him? Better. I've already called. The police and the FBI, Financial Crimes Division. They're on their way. But Tara, she paused, you need to get down there. You're the controlling shareholder now. The paperwork was filed first thing this morning. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. They don't know that yet, do they? No, and that's our advantage. Get there before they can destroy any evidence. Uncle Michael's documentation proves the theft, but there might be more we don't know about. As I rushed to my car, another text came through, this time from my mother. You ungrateful child. After everything we've done for you, you'll regret this. But for the first time, their threats didn't frighten me. I had the truth on my side, and more importantly, I had nothing left to lose. I arrived at the family company's headquarters just as my parents were walking out, carrying boxes. From my father's office, Emma was with them, looking nervous as she glanced around. They froze when they saw me step out of my car. "What are you doing here?" my father demanded, trying to maintain his authoritative CEO voice. But I could see the fear in his eyes. "Funny," I replied calmly. "I was about to ask you the same thing, especially since you're removing items from my company without authorization." "Your company?" Emma scoffed. "What are you talking about?" I held up my phone, displaying the ownership documents. Grandma transferred her controlling shares to me this morning, and as the new majority shareholder, I'm very interested in these boxes you're carrying. Would they happen to contain evidence of what you did with my trust fund? My mother's face went white. Behind them, police cars pulled into the parking lot, lights flashing. FBI agents emerged from unmarked vehicles, and I saw Uncle Michael's car arrive with Grandma in the passenger seat. "You don't understand," my mother pleaded, her voice shaking. "Everything we did was for this family." "No," I corrected her. "Everything you did was for Emma, and now you were planning to run away with what's left of my money." I turned to my sister. "Did you enjoy the cruise, Emma? Was it worth it?" Emma burst into tears as my father tried to pull her away, but it was too late. The truth had finally caught up with them. 3 months later, I sat in Grandma's garden in Indianapolis, watching the autumn leaves fall while we shared our morning coffee. The FBI's investigation had revealed even more than we'd suspected. My parents had embezzled not just from my trust fund, but from the company as well. They were now facing federal charges along with additional civil suits from shareholders. Emma had made a deal with prosecutors, agreeing to testify in exchange for immunity. She'd moved to Minnesota, finally forced to support herself without our parents' financial backing. Her last message to me was a lengthy apology, but some wounds run too deep for simple words to heal. "You know," Grandma said, sipping her coffee, "your grandfather would be proud of how you handled everything. He always said money reveals people's true characters." I nodded, thinking of the changes I'd implemented at the company. Under my leadership, we'd established a scholarship program for employees' children and created a more transparent financial system. The business was thriving, built on integrity rather than deception. I never wanted any of this, I admitted. I just wanted to be treated fairly. Grandma reached over and squeezed my hand. "Sometimes life's greatest blessings come disguised as its greatest challenges. You've turned their betrayal into something positive." She was right. I had found my strength, my purpose, and most importantly, my self-worth. That cruise they took without me, it hadn't been the vacation of a lifetime after all. It had been the beginning of their downfall and the start of my new life.